All right, so we've talked about adding and subtracting. Today we're going to talk about multiplying and dividing polynomials. Okay, so when we are multiplying, we're going to have to distribute the number outside the parentheses to everything inside the parentheses. Okay, so let's try an example here. So I'm going to have to take this number on the outside and multiply it to everything inside. So this is 5x times 2x. And then I need 5x times 3. Okay, so let's talk about how we're going to add that. That first part should look familiar to you. We did it in the last section, last unit. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply the numbers. 5 times 2 is 10. And when I have the same variable with a multiplication, remember that exponents are ones. And what we do is we add those exponents. So this is 10x to the second. Okay, so for this one, we're going to multiply the numbers. 5 times 3 is a positive 15. So we have to remember to put that plus sign there, positive 15. And then the x is there. There's no other x's that I have to add those exponents. So it's just x. And we have to make sure that our answer is in standard form. So notice I have an exponent of 2 and then an exponent of 1. So yes, it checks out. It's in standard form. All right, let's try this one. So I have to take this number on the outside and multiply it to everything inside. So this is 2b times 5b squared. And then it's a negative 2b times b. And then a negative 2b times 6. So we're going to multiply the numbers on the numbers in front. So negative 2 times 5 is a negative 10. And then I have b's. I have to add those exponents. So that's a 1 and a 2. When I add them, I get a 3. All right, let's go to the middle one. This is a negative 2, and there's a 1 understood to be there. So negative 2 times 1 is a negative 2. And then I have b's. Well, I have to add those exponents. Right now, those exponents are 1. So I have b, and 1 plus 1 is 2. And then for this last one, I have negative 2 times 6. That's a negative 12. And then I have b's. There are no more b's there, so that b just comes down. And then double check. Is your answer in standard form? Yes, it is. 3, 2, 1 for the exponents. Okay, let's try this one. So we're going to multiply the stuff on the outside. So 5x squared times a negative 2x. And then I have 5x squared times 4y. Okay, so let's see. 5 times a negative 2, negative 10. I have x's and x's, so I continue to have x's. I'm going to add those exponents. 2 plus 1 is 3. All right, let's talk about this next one. I have 5 times 4, which is a positive 20. And remember to put that plus sign there. And then look at the variables. Do you have the same variable? No. So we're not going to be adding exponents because this is an x and this is a y. Okay? When we have that, we just bring them down, and we need to bring them down in alphabetical order. So in alphabetical order, the x's come first. So it's going to be x squared and then the y. Okay, let's take a look at this one. So I'm going to have to take the number on the outside and multiply it to everything inside. So this is 4y squared times 5xy to the fourth. 4y squared times a negative 3x squared. And 4y squared times 2y. All right, so let's take one at a time. 4 times 5 is 20. I have the same variable, so y comes down, and then we're going to add those exponents. 2 plus 4 is 6. All right, let's look at the middle one. 4 times a negative 3 is a negative 12. Look at your variables. Are they the same? No. So we're not going to be adding the exponents. Instead, we're just going to bring them down alphabetically. So the x squared is going to come first, and then the y squared. And then let's look at the third one. Let's multiply the numbers. 4 times 2 is a positive 8. Now look at your variables. Are your variables the same? Yes. So the variable stays the same, and we're going to add those exponents. So 2 plus 1 is a 3. All right, let's try this one. We're going to take stuff on the outside and multiply it to everything inside. So 7a times 3ab squared. 7a times a negative 8ab. And 7a times a negative 1. Okay, one at a time. 7 times 3 is 21. I have the same variables here, a. So I'm going to bring the a down, and I'm going to add those exponents. 1 plus 1 is 2. I also have another variable there, b. There's no other b's, so that just comes down. Okay, we're going to multiply those numbers. 7 times a negative 8 is a negative 56. When I look at this, I see that I have a's, so I'm going to continue to have a's. And I have to add those exponents. 1 plus 1 is 2. And then I have this lonely b, so it just comes down for the ride. And then finally, the last one, 7 times a negative 1 is a negative 7. And then I just have that a that I can't put together with anything else, so it just comes down. Okay, so that takes care of multiplication. Now let's talk about division. When we divide every term of the numerator by the monomial in the denominator, the bottom. Okay, so we'll take this slow. So for this one, there's only one thing there. So this is what we're going to have to do. We need to understand, let me erase this. We need to understand that there's a 1 there, and we've done this before. So 4 divided by 1, and then I have x squared over x. So 4 divided by 1 is 4. Now look at that x squared over x. Notice that I have the same thing on both top and bottom. Remember what questions we have to ask. Where do you have more? You have more on the top. And then how many more? How many extras? You have 1 extra on the top. You can put the 1 there, but you really don't need it. Your final answer is just 4x. Okay, let's take a look at this one. So I have 25 divided by 5. And then I have y to the 5th divided by y to the 3rd. Well, what's 25 divided by 5? 5. Now look at the next one. You have y's on top and bottom. Where do you have more? You have more on top. How many more? How many extras? You have 2 extras on top. So that's your final answer. Remember that if the only thing you have left on the bottom is a 1, we don't need a 1 on the bottom. Okay, now this one's a little different because now we have 3 things on the top. So you do 1 at a time. So this is 12a to the 4th over 2a squared. Negative 6a to the 3rd over 2a squared. And then 2a squared over 2a squared. Do you see what I did? This gets divided by this. This gets divided by this, and so does this. We just break the problem up. Okay? So 12 divided by 2 is 6. Where do you have more A's? I have more A's on the top. How many more do you have? You have 2 extras on the top. Now let's go to the middle one. -6 divided by 2. Well, that's a -3. You have A's on top and bottom. Where do you have more A's? I have more A's on the top. How many more? I have 1 extra on the top. Remember, we don't need to put the little 1 there. And now this last one, 2 divided by 2 is 1. You have A's on top and bottom. You have the same amount of A's on the top and bottom. So they're gone. And that is your final answer. Okay, let's try this one. So we're going to break this up. 6ab squared over a, let's make this a 3 right here. Okay, over a squared b. And then I have a -2a squared b over a squared b. All right, there was a typo there, so I want to make that a 3. So now let's see what we got. Remember, there's a 1 understood to be here. So 6 divided by 1 is 6. Now we're going to look at each letter separately. Look at the A's. Where do you have more A's? I have more A's on top. How many more A's do you have on top? I have 1 extra on top. Look at the B's. Where do you have more B's? I have more B's on top. How many more do you have on top? I have 1 extra on top. Okay, so we're done with the first one. Let's go to the second one. Remember, there's a 1 understood to be there. So -2 divided by 1. It's a -2. Look at the A's. Do you have the same A's on top and bottom? Yes, so they're gone. Look at the B's. Do you have the same B's on top and bottom? Yes, so they're gone. And there's my final answer. All right, last one. Let's split it up. Take it one little bit at a time. So -16a squared b to the 5th over 4a squared b to the 3rd. So that takes care of the first one. Let's do the middle one now. 12a to the 3rd b to the 4th over 4a squared b to the 3rd. Now let's take the last one. 4a to the 6th b to the 3rd over 4a squared b to the 3rd. Okay, one at a time. -16 divided by 4. That's a -4. Look at your A's. Do you have more A's in one place or the other? No. So the A's are gone. You have the same amount on top and bottom. Look at the B's. Where do you have more B's? On top. All right, how many extras? Well, I have 2 extra B's on top. Let's go to the middle one now. 12 divided by 4 is a +3. +12 divided by a +4 is a +3. Look at your A's. Where do you have more A's? Well, I have more A's on the top. How many more A's? How many extras? 1 extra. Now look at the B's. Where do you have more B's? I have more B's on the top. How many more B's do you have on the top? I have 1 more. So we don't need to put those 1 exponents. All right, now the last one. 4 divided by 4 is a +1. Okay, look at the A's. Where do you have more A's? I have more A's on the top. How many more? How many extras? I have 4 extras. And now look at the B's. Do you have the same amount of B's? Yes, so they're gone. And that becomes your final answer. With all of these problems, if you take it slow, you will be able to do them with no problem at all. Okay? So when we multiply the number on the outside to everything on the inside. And then when we're dividing, we have to break it down into all the little pieces. Remember to ask yourself, where do you have more variables? And then how many more? Okay.